From a massive wave on the Ganges River that sent these locals running for higher ground, and a woman from Indonesia who was nearly swept away by the country's famous Bono waves, to a fascinating tidal bore in eastern China that's said to be the largest on Earth, and much more. Here are some of the craziest monster river waves caught on camera. The Kampar River is a 256-mile waterway on Sumatra Island in Indonesia. It rises in the Barisan Mountains of West Sumatra and snakes east until it empties in the Malacca Strait. It is a critical resource for those living along the river basin and has become a popular river surfing destination for its powerful tidal bores, known locally as Bono. On January 22nd of 2022, a woman traveled to the village of Pekanbaru to witness these Bono waves firsthand. Armed with a selfie stick, she recorded as the tidal waves came barreling toward her. Let's just say it was a good thing she was wearing a life jacket.
Bononya mau dekat. Saya berlari mengejar waktu, guys. Saya berlari mengejar waktu supaya saya dapat gelombang bononya yang besar. Guys. Hah?
Tadi hantam ombak Bono. Lihat, sahabat.
Guys, ini udah berapa aku. Kamera aku di lumpur. Kamera. Kayak mana itulah tantangan Rina Bono.
Things got a little scary when our camera woman got stuck on some debris. Thankfully, her friend was there to grab the camera so she could regain her footing. The Kampar River widens as it approaches the sea. When the tide comes in, all that seawater rushes up the narrow river neck. It'll flow for miles, reaching speeds of about 25 miles per hour. If you're lucky, you can catch one of those 15-foot waves back to your village. And if you miss one, don't worry. Another is likely a few minutes away. Surfing the Bono involves some dangers, though. The water is muddy, making it hard to catch good waves. The Kampar River is also home to many crocodiles. That's why most river surfers are accompanied by rescue boats. On this river, a bad wipeout could put you on the menu. The Qiantang River is a 285-mile waterway through eastern China. It rises in Zhejiang province and flows until it reaches Hangzhou Bay and the East China Sea. During high tide in Hangzhou Bay, massive walls of water can be seen racing up the Qiantang. These tidal bores are famous for being the largest in the world, growing 30 feet tall and traveling upwards of 25 miles per hour. The locals have been appreciating the phenomenon they call the Silver Dragon since the first tide tables were written in the 11th century. It's known to produce powerful and sometimes destructive waves. Footage of the Silver Dragon from October of 2020 shows how strong these waves can be. Now these waves never stop at one. There's always a bigger, more powerful silver dragon behind the last. Watch as this one nearly knocks a dozen people off their feet. Another group gathered further up the river, believing this thin fence would keep them dry. The Silver Dragon had other ideas. Hundreds of locals will crowd the seawall to witness these massive tidal bores. They know they'll get wet, but that doesn't stop them from coming out in droves.
正在向这个拐角逼近。今天的潮高是1.8米，相当于一个成年人的高度。哦，好的。刚才介绍了我们这个杆子呢是9米左右。刚才我看到这个潮。
Some will even fly their drones overhead and ride along the parallel streets for footage. This shot from someone's car shows how fast these waves are moving. From what we can gather, the best time to visit the Qiantang River is during the Chinese Mid-Autumn Festival. That's when the tidal waves are allegedly at their highest. If you miss the festival, don't worry. The Silver Dragon is active for about 120 days each year. The Ganges River, also known as the Ganga in India, is a 1,569-mile river that flows from the western Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal. It sports one of the world's most diverse ecosystems, from exotic birds and reptiles to elephants, tigers, and millions of people. In fact, over 600 million Indians call the Ganga River Basin home. Many of those people regard the Ganga as the holiest river in India. In Hindu mythology, the Ganges is the embodiment of all sacred waters. It's no wonder that they revere the tidal bores, known locally as the Bon, that roar through when the tide comes in. Take this video from mid-September of 2020. Locals gathered by the river's edge to watch the Bon pass through their town. It may not look like much from afar, but just wait until it gets closer.
কালকে থেকে বড় ফ্যান এটা বলতে পারো
This next clip shows how quickly the Bon can flood a small area. Watch as these locals take off running as soon as the wave comes crashing around the corner. As you can imagine, these tidal bores can be extremely powerful. Every piece of infrastructure on the river must be built with them in mind. In this clip from 2016, our cameraman captures the moment when one of those tidal bores nearly took out a narrow fishing dock.
ভেঙেও দিতে পারে কিন্তু এর যা ক্ষমতা না ওই দেখ নৌকাগুলো দেখ এবার ফ্ল্যাটের দিকে যাচ্ছি আমরা
Although the Ganges supplies water to about 40% of India's population, it remains one of the most polluted bodies of water on Earth. In fact, some call it the most polluted river in the world. Much of that waste comes from sewage and large volumes of industrial runoff. According to the National Ganga River Basin Project, the river flows through 50 major Indian cities, each with a population greater than 50,000. These towns and cities can generate up to 3 billion liters of sewage each day, and only a tiny fraction is treated before it reaches the river. So when you see these people running from the tidal bore, know that getting wet is probably the least of their concerns. Ribeirão Arrudas, or the Arrudas River, is a near 30-mile Brazilian waterway stretching from Contagem to Rio das Velhas in Sabará, Brazil. In late January of 2020, heavy rain led to extensive flooding on the Arrudas, along with other streams and tributaries of Rio das Velhas. A local cameraman was recording on an empty road when he spotted large tidal waves crashing into the bridge. He knew he was in for a show, but he had no idea how crazy things were about to get.
O rio está com uma violência muito grande, a água está subindo. Situação aqui é alarmante, muito perigoso. Mais de 5 metros de altura aí, o suspiro aí. Aí, ó, verifica aí o canteiro central aí e o meio da pista, a rachadura aí. A violência do Andrados aí, do Rio Arrudas.
If you thought that was wild, wait until the next wave comes. It hits with such force that water starts shooting through small cracks in the road. For a moment, it almost looks like this bridge is about to explode from pressure.
Era pra trás aí. Era pra trás que é perigoso. E vem com força. Vem muita força, era pra trás aí. Tranquilo não, isso é perigoso. Vai pra você ver. Falando que eu sou perigoso, pra trás aí, ó. Ó, misericórdia. Pode você ver a violência das águas.
Thankfully, the road held together and withstood the remaining waves. This phenomenon was likely caused by the heavy rainstorm that impacted southeastern Brazil in January of 2020. They led to extensive flooding and landslides in Minas Gerais, where all the Arrudas River flows. After Sudan's 2011 breakup, Algeria officially became Africa's largest country. Fun fact, about 90% of it is occupied by the Algerian desert. As you can imagine, a little extra water goes a long way in some of the smaller towns and settlements. Take Oued Mazi, a small town in Lagoat province, for example. In September of 2016, several locals gathered by the river to watch a large tidal bore pass through town. They appreciated the water, but probably weren't expecting this much.
صورة طالع عندك صور. لا ترجع وين رايح؟ بده يطلع من هنا تعرف.
Something similar occurred on the Wadi Bana in Yemen. In Arab countries, the term wadi refers to a river valley or a dry riverbed that only fills with water during the rainy season. Thanks to the Wadi Bana, agriculture has actually been able to thrive near its mouth in an otherwise barren country. In August of 2022, a few men in a jeep caught the Wadi Bana as it was filling with water. One of them recorded from a safe perch, while the others tried to outrun the water in their car. The video cuts before we see the jeep again. Hopefully, they found an exit and could escape before the water carried their jeep away. The Araguari River in Amapá, Brazil, is a 350-mile waterway north of the Amazon River. In 2006, its tidal bores, known as pororocas, held the world record for longest surf. Unfortunately, development upriver caused the mouth to silt over in 2014. It was a blessing and a curse, as farmers had more land to raise cattle but less water to go around. Back in 2009, long before the mouth dried up, a Brazilian biologist named Richard Rasmussen ventured with his camera crew to the Araguari River. He came to watch the famous tidal bores and pay his respects.
De onde eu estou aqui no Amapá, eu consigo enxergar o encontro de dois titãs da natureza. De um lado, a bacia hidrográfica da Amazônia com seus rios cortando a floresta e despejando milhões de litros, trilhões de litros de água doce. De outro lado, o Oceano Atlântico, gordo, pesado, que sofre suas alterações de maré de acordo com a Lua. Nesse encontro não há vencedor nem ganhador. Há um espetáculo da natureza. Sai! É com muita satisfação que eu trago a vocês a imagem da onda mais longa do planeta Terra. Eu trago a vocês e entrego Pororoca!
Now, to some, Richard may seem a little over-enthusiastic. To Brazilians, he's just being himself. Richard is a national TV icon in Brazil. In 2019, former President Jair Bolsonaro appointed him Chief Tourism Ambassador. If you had a question about tidal bores on the Araguari or the Amazon rivers, Richard was the guy to ask. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.